What is the best bike you can buy for $500?
I mean, do you play it safe and get something new, or do you take a bit of a risk and buy something used?
Both of them have got their relative pros and cons though.
But here at GCNTech, we've got loads of collective experience buying different bikes across all different budgets over many years. So we're going to show you what we look for when we buy a bike so that, well, hopefully you can learn and avoid buying something that is just totally
That was brilliant.
First thing to clear up is that if you are looking at this budget of $500, which is around 450 quid or about 500 euros, the best bike that we feel that you can buy for that price now in 2025 is a used bike in terms of what you'll get for your money, such as what's happened in the last sort of 5-10 years with the way that products have just increased in price and the cost of living's increased. So there are shops that specialised in used bikes. There's some here where we live, but what we're going to do is focus online. So the main places we're going to look are eBay and Facebook Marketplace. So
I want to chuck a third option as well. I think we should also look at speciality used online marketplaces for bikes, such as Bicycle that we've used in the past.
Yeah, sure.
Well worth keeping a look at.
So we'll just go onto eBay and we'll search for road bike. We're also going to set a price limit that's a bit higher than what we were looking at, an upper price of 600, because a lot of things are like, when you're buying a used bike, one of the key things is I wouldn't want a bike. It's unlikely that you're going to get a bike posted to you. You're going to want to see it in person. So the other thing with your search parameters is search locally when you're looking for bikes, especially around this price point. You want to be able to go and actually pick it up, is what I'd suggest, or meet the seller halfway, at which point you're going to do the cash transaction probably there and then. And as a result, you might be able to knock money off, particularly on Facebook Marketplace. That's more of something that will happen there. But let's see what we've got. So the kind of things that we're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, straight away, there's a bike that's rocked up here that's a Specialized Alley that's just come up for like 80 quid that we've just seen.
Right, there's loads of Specialized Alleys here.
And the Specialized Alley is a solid bike. So there's not really much that's changed in an Alley from like over the last 10 years.
So I think the first thing you're going to do is just immediately study some of the pictures, right? You're going to decide if it's a bike that you actually like or not. And also, from studying the pictures, you're trying to first ascertain your perception of the bike. You're trying to look for obvious things like, is it damaged? Are there any signs of wear? Like, obviously you can't assess the quality of components that you need to physically see and feel, like things like, do the bearings feel and sound rough? But you can look for visible signs of wear, like damage to the paint. You can see if things like chain rings look really worn. You can see if the cassette and the chain is all rusty. You can look at tyres, wheels, that kind of stuff. From my perception, if there's not any good pictures of the bike on the listing, that sort of sets alarm bells ringing first, and then you need to ask for more pictures straight away.
The other big thing that's different when you're buying a bike from other things is you need to be certain of the size that you want. So make sure that you ascertain the exact size. It's no point buying a bike that doesn't fit you. But I'm just looking here and
there's some absolutely mega bikes here.
There's a lot of Specialized coming up in this actually. But there is a Specialized Roubaix here for £400. That is a size medium, and it is a carbon frame. These are the ones that used to have the zerts in. Do you remember those? Those like vibration dampening zerts. The kind of era when Tom Bonin was winning Paris-Roubaix.
I mean, right, look at the pictures straight away. You can see everything's clean and shiny. The chain is clean. The tyres are matching. Like the stuff that's silver is actually silver rather than all like corroded and tarnished.
I mean, these are historically like good bikes. It's Shimano 10-speed from that era. But I wouldn't let that put you off if you're spending this kind of money, because if you were buying a brand new bike of this price, you know, you're looking at group sets like Claris, which, you know, 10-speed 105 from this era versus like Claris now, it's pretty comparable. I mean, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? This is going to be a bike that's going to be absolutely perfect for someone's, you know, first road bike, or someone who wants to get into cycling, someone that is looking to maybe do a sportive, or do their first like 100-mile ride and get into it, but not want to over commit on price. I mean, that looks really good. Of course, with any of these bikes, the key thing is I wouldn't ever buy a bike without seeing it in person, because you can just hide so many things in photos. And particularly with like carbon frames, you just want to look for the obvious crash damage, such as is the top tube.
Like bar strikes.
Bar strikes on the top tube. All right, let's see what else we can find down here.
Do you know what the most obvious thing I'm seeing on this is?
What?
Braking system. Like, I think most of the bikes at this price point are typically going to have rim brakes if you're talking about road bikes. I mean, I don't think that's a problem on a road bike, do you? I've got no problems with rim brake bikes.
Absolutely not. I would have no issue buying a rim brake bike as a first bike at all. I think rim brakes are still like absolutely brilliant, and
What I'm thinking, right, is if you are going to look to get a road bike, I think going for rim brakes is meaning you're going to get a bike that's lighter, easier to maintain. But if you're looking for something that is a gravel bike, I think you're going to really want to try and search out something with disc brakes so that you've got that extra clearance and space for those wider tyres.
Yeah. The other thing is of this period as well, like there's a lot of specialised bikes coming up here. And of that era of those like aluminium allays, I mean, I don't know if Specialized still offer this, but they were offering like lifetime warranties on their frames at that point. So they are like decent bikes. This is quite an intriguing one here. This is like a Focus Zalco SL.
That looks an absolutely mega bike. Look at the colour of it.
Bloody hell, look at that.
No, surely that has been repainted.
Custom comic book style artwork, finished with 2K clear coat. Yeah, you can see it's got new bar tape on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty cool bike, isn't it? It's on at Buy It Now for $550 or best offer, so you could go in a bit lower. I mean, that is a pretty cool bike. It's got a mixture of bits on it.
I can't believe you can get a custom painted bike for £500.
But well presented. Like the chain is clean, the cassette's clean. It suggests that someone's taken care of it and looked after it. It's got a bit of a unique paint job.
Unique is one.
I mean, it's not for everyone, but
unique is one way of putting it. But I think if you're going to be looking at these price points, you've got to make some sacrifices in some areas.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, for the price, if that's cool. Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a blooming decent bike for the price. I'd say I'd be definitely interested in that.
One thing that is springing to mind here is because this is a newer bike. Yeah, you're now starting to see that you're using like modern group sets from brands like Microshift, which if you go for a bike which is slightly older, you're getting stuff like 105 level componentry. For me, I think that's actually quite an important thing, is I would be prepared to sacrifice having a newer bike to having something that's older but got components of a better quality.
Yeah.
BMC Carbon Gran Fondo.
That looks...
£505, 58 centimetres. This is my size. This is great.
What they look like fake sort of wheels. The wheels are, I mean, I would... Right, so on this one...
This is incredible.
Right, it does look incredible, but what are these wheels? Like, they're not stock.
Right, I'm being wowed by the picture. This is actually... I'm now a prime example of what you should not do, because I'm being wowed by the pictures and colours.
You've been taken in by the bling, but already, like here, the things that are like that. Yeah, and then if you look on this next picture, I'm like, straight away looking, and there's a lot of scuff damage on that rear mech.
Yeah, the rear derailleur has sinned the floor quite a few times.
Yeah, so I'd instantly then be checking on a bike like that, and I'd be going, is the mech hanger bent? Not the end of the world, but it looks like the bike could have come down quite a bit. So then you'd instantly go, right, well, let's have a look at crash damage and look see if that carbon frame has any other damage on it.
Shifters are always like, the shifters and bar tape are like the first things that are always going to get scuffed up when a bike's been laid to the side.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on the material that you would be looking for a frame at that price point?
Aluminium is a safer bet around this entry-level price point. You can get a lot of good retro steel bikes for like less than 500 quid. You're sacrificing a bit of functionality, but you're getting a lot of cool points potentially. The recent bike, the Vecchia that I bought, 190 quid, and that was a fully functioning, really good bike. But with an older bike, you're typically not gonna... The biggest areas you sacrifice are weight. Older bikes are heavier. Yeah. Steel's heavier. Like you probably add in 1 or 2 kilos onto the weight. which people don't like.
Yeah.
The other thing is the functionality of the shifters, like they're going to be on the down tube or they're not going to be as good, which means it's harder to change gears, particularly when you're out the saddle. The other thing is the gear ratios are going to be tighter, so you're not going to have as easier gears for climbing. As bikes have got more modern, the gears have got easier, which helps you on climbs. The next thing is tyre clearance.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Tyre clearance has increased as bikes have got newer. So at this kind of price point, I would say you should be able to find something that can fit at least 25mm tyres. But if you can get something that has clearance for 28, that's great.
Yeah.
But most rim brake bikes are around the 28, 25 kind of area.
And
here is another great example, right? So when I bought that Pinarello, I paid £450 for that, which is around $500. And that was a great bike. It just had it was because it was presented weird and someone had put a weird extender on the headset. It just made it look really unattractive to a lot of buyers, but it was a good bike. Here's another one. So this is a Pinarello. It's local to us.
It's actually in Bath.
It's in Bath. It's there listed for £500. It's been listed for 8 weeks.
We got scope to discount.
You got scope to then negotiate on that. But if we have a look at the photos here, it's got carbon wheels. I mean, the carbon wheels, they look okay, but they're not.
Well, the wheels aren't actually even matching. This is actually quite a good point. Yeah,
but you've got a carbon frame. You've got Tiagra.
Got scuffed up levers, but you got to accept some of this stuff. I think superficial, like surface scuffs and damages, are something you've got to grow to accept. The tricky part is trying to assess that things aren't like broken to the point of not working correctly.
It's a bit of a mark on the fork on that bit. But that's a good looking bike, isn't it?
It is a good looking bike.
If that's structurally sound, if that's not got damage on it when you go see it and the gears are all working all right, I'd be like, I'd offer them £400 for that, and then I reckon I'd be prepared to meet them not quite in the middle and go
£450,
£430.
You got to buy matching tyres for starters and a wheel.
Yeah, but for that price, you're getting a carbon bike, you're getting a Pinarello. It's got a bit of street cred. So this has just caught my eye, right? This is a Trek de Marne AL2, so that's aluminium frame, not the carbon one. Still a really good bike.
Disc brakes?
Yeah, with disc brakes on it. Now these were typically like you're looking at like probably about £600 would have been the new price for something like this. Maybe £700. I think more in the region of about £700. Like an entry level Trek. But what strikes me about this one is there's a few things that I can instantly see. It's got the reflectors on the wheels still. It's got the reflector on the seat post still. This is indicative of, and it's got no bottle cages on it, which suggests that it hasn't been used on long rides. It's got flat pedals on. This is probably not done many miles, right?
To me, this looks in pretty new condition.
Yeah. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? It's got the original stock tyres that it came with because they're the Bontrager tyres. It's got a spoke guard on the wheel still.
The dork disc.
The dork disc. I mean, this is, I'm convinced, and you see these periodically, bikes that come up that have been bought by someone because they probably wanted to do like a sportive or a charity bike ride or like a triathlon or something. Didn't spend a huge amount of money on a bike. And then they've just not really used it. It's not been bought by a hardcore cyclist.
What's making me think I'm in agreement here is that this is in London. So bikes that are in city centres, often people will get them with the mindset that they're going to do cycling, they're going to do more, but then all of a sudden you realise you're in a city, you can't actually go that far.
Yeah. One thing that I can instantly see here is on the top tube there. Can you see that scratching? That is like classic lock scratch from where a D-lock's been on the frame. But that's not something I'd be worried about. If it was a carbon frame and there were chips in it like that, it can be the carbon's cracked. But with an aluminium frame, whatever.
They're typically more robust.
And I do really like that brushed aluminium logo. That's a smart looking bike, isn't it? That's a really smart looking bike. £320, you're looking at like $250.
That's a no-brainer in my eyes.
We've done videos on used bike buying advice. Definitely check those out for more detail. But a brief synopsis, like a brief overview, is that you want to check the bike out, as in run through the gears, check the brakes are working. If the gears aren't shifting well, look for wear on the cassette, look for wear on the chain. Take a chain checker tool with you if you want. Because that's all right. Like if your budget is 400 quid or 500 quid and the bike is 300, but the chain and the cassette are worn, which is a common thing that can happen on older bikes, especially when they look like
grubby.
This, like on this Boardman, you can see look, I would want to check the chain and the cassette on that.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the world. That's a 10-speed chain and cassette. They're not expensive components to replace if your budget's that. And
that is true, but I think you do need to be mindful of this stuff, because if you go to see a bike and all of a sudden you've got, okay, the wheels maybe need truing, the wheel bearings are a bit dead, the tyres are a bit rubbish, the gear and brake cables all need replacing, and then the chain, the cassette, maybe the chain rings. And if you're someone that doesn't have the tools and the knowledge to do that, you go, okay, I'm going to take this bike to the bike shop.
And then they're
going to give you a quote that's like double the price of the bike.
And the key message I would say is that there are bikes out there that do exist that don't need a new chain, that don't need a new cassette. Like some of the ones that we've shown you here, I can just tell that some of them haven't done much mileage.
Yeah.
And you can tell when you go see them in person as well.
This has actually inspired me, right? You've got your retro bike build underway at the moment.
Yeah.
I actually do want to try and buy the best bike that I think I can find for £500.
Do it.
I'm going to do it.
And then we'll go on a ride. Me on mine, you on yours.
You go on your old bike, I go on the best bike that I think I can find.
We need to get one for Si as well.
Yeah, we can include Si.
Yeah.
But I also actually want to make some cool videos, like seeing what's actually wrong with it. Have I bought a good bike or a bad bike? Do it up, fix it up. And I guess I should probably upgrade it at some point.
I mean, doing this makes me really happy, because there's loads of mega bikes out there that people can afford.
Yeah.
This is still up to $500 is still a lot of money for a lot of people, but cycling is accessible, and riding these bikes can be really fun. And
some of them look so cool as well. You don't have to spend $1 million to have a cool road bike.
When I first got into cycling, right? When I first got into cycling, this Cannondale CAD 8 that's 225 quid, that is a way better bike than what my first road bike was.
Yeah.
That is a way better bike. It's got more gears, it's got better brakes, it's got better wheels, it's got a better frame. And I, rode massive Gran Fondo routes and stuff on a bike that was not as good as that.
I mean, it's easy for people to assume that you have to have the latest of everything. And undoubtedly that is always nice to have, but these bikes can achieve incredible things.
That's a cool paint job on that bike as well.
Yeah,
I like those.
Cool,
but my point is that a bike that is not as good as that is what made me fall in love with road cycling and be where I am now.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point to end on, to be fair.
There you go.
If you want to get into road cycling, you don't have to be a millionaire and you don't have to spend all of your money. Start with something basic and you might find that's all that you actually ever need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one comes with a Shimano Tiagro group set. I think that's a typo.
Also, look out for typos in the listings. Right, hopefully you found that advice fun and informative. We've certainly enjoyed looking at some of these cheaper bikes you can get. And it turns out there's absolutely loads and loads of options, and they're going to be available around the world. So get involved in the comments section down below. Let us know what was your first road bike, and also let us know what you actually think is the best bike that you can possibly get for £500, euros, dollars.
It's that Pinarello that I bought for $450.
So you've achieved it. You've got the best one
mega.
ever.
Had Ultegra on it. Carbon, mega.
I still think my Retro Trek is the best of all of the different eras together. Cool. Also, if you want to help support our channel, subscribe to GCNTech, turn on notifications. Right, rabbit. Bye.